When do I start teaching my baby sign language? This is the number one question that I am asked on my Instagram, whether it's in comments or messages, and I get this question every single day. And I usually answer with the very quick answer of, you can start at any time. However, there is so much more to this answer that I want to cover for you, including when is the best time specifically for your family and your baby. So let's get into it. Hi, I'm Mary from Sign and Grow. I'm a mom, an American Sign Language interpreter, the author of Baby Sign Language, a fun and simple guide to early communication, and I have taught hundreds of thousands of parents on the Sign and Grow Instagram how to communicate early with their babies. When it comes to what time to start teaching your baby sign language, it's important to back up and think about the way that babies and children learn language. Babies learn language very differently than adults do. When adults need to learn a new language or learn new words in a language, we learn through repetition and memorization, whereas children, and particularly babies, learn by language acquisition, which means learning just by being around the people who are using that language on a daily basis. Babies typically start learning language from the moment that they are born, and they can start learning new languages up until the several first years of their life, as long as they are immersed with people who are using that language to communicate. And whenever children are starting to learn a new language, they are listening to it, absorbing it, and then they start to pick up the meaning of the words and the grammar of the language without actually ever sitting down and studying it from a book the way that adults do. It's because of this process of language acquisition that it is true that the earlier that you start to teach your child a language, whether it's English, whether it's ASL, whether it's Spanish, French, Armenian, whatever it is, your child will be able to learn that language a lot more the earlier that you start. However, when it comes to American Sign Language, particularly for hearing parents of hearing children, what we're talking about is teaching your baby signs from a language that you are not going to be using on a consistent basis and are part of a language that you are not fluent in. Typically, hearing parents of hearing babies want to teach these signs to their babies for the purpose of early communication. And there are so many benefits there, so it's wonderful that you want to teach your baby some signs so that you'll be able to communicate with them early and ease a lot of frustration and stress within your home. Now, like I said, babies are ready to learn language at any time, including from the moment they are born all the way up until, well, really adults can learn language at any time too. So language learning can be a lifelong process. However, you want to know when you should start teaching your baby. And the questions that I get are, is it too early for me to start teaching my baby at this age? Is it too late? Is there a window of time that closed? Will I still get the benefits of teaching my baby to sign because I'm so early or because I'm so late? So there is a lot here, and I do want to break this down into two periods of time that I consider to be really good times to teach your baby how to sign. The first period is what I call a good time to start, and then the second period is what I call the best time to start. Let's get into first the good time to start teaching your baby how to use sign language to communicate. When it comes to when to teach your baby sign language, I refer to the good time to start as around 6 months old. That's because there are several things developmentally going on with most babies around 6 months old that lend themselves to starting to learn signs and for your baby to be more motivated to sign back. The first one is your baby's vision. At 6 months old, your baby is able to see you a lot more clearly than they were on the day that they were born, and they're able to track your movements across the room. So if you were a little bit more distant from your baby in the room and you walked across the room, they would be able to actually follow you with their eyes. Granted that you're not sprinting across the room, which means that the same thing goes for using signs with your baby. If you are using sign language with your child, they will be able to track the movement of your hands so that they can see the complete sign from beginning to end. The second reason that 6 months old is a good time to start teaching your baby sign language is because they are starting to sit up. Once your baby can sit up on their own, that means that they are able to look at you directly so that you're in their line of sight rather than them just laying down and having to look up at you. When you're in their line of sight and they're able to sit up and look directly at you, that means that they'll be able to see the signs that you're using a whole lot more clearly. The third reason is that your baby is starting to learn how to use their hands to affect the world around them. Whether they are raking toys in toward them, grasping toys, learning how to let toys go, either way, they are developing these fine motor skills, which are the use of the fingers and the smaller movements within the hands, and that is going to lend itself to them starting to be able to use the signs pretty soon to communicate back to you. The fourth reason is that your baby is starting to babble. Babbling means that your baby is starting to learn how to use vocalizations to communicate and is eager to start a back and forth communication with the people around them, which means that they are ready to start using signs as well so that they can communicate whatever they want to say because they're not able to pronounce the words clearly yet. And the fifth and final reason, although I'm sure that there are so many more, is because usually around 6 months old, parents are starting their babies on solid foods. Whenever you're starting your baby on solid foods, that's a great time and an opportune time to start incorporating signs into your baby's mealtime routine. This helps to keep you consistent with using the signs, and it gets your baby used to seeing the signs at meal times. A lot of the basic and most simple ASL signs like more, all done, and milk are all used during meal times. But I do want to let you know that you do not only have to use signs at meal times. You can use signs throughout the day for everything that is going on in your baby's life. Sign language is definitely not just for meal times, and you will likely see a whole lot more benefit and your baby starts signing back a lot faster if you're using the signs outside of meal times as well as during meal times. Although all of these are good reasons to start signing with your baby at 6 months old, and definitely 6 months old is a good time to start, there is another time to start, which is the best time. The best time to start signing to your baby is when you feel ready to start. I know that that sounds a little bit like a cop-out answer, so let me explain, and I do have some to explain here, and to get specific because that's why this isn't a 30-second video where I just said, just start when you're ready, goodbye. There are a lot of reasons why you should wait until you are ready, or if you are ready before your baby is 6 months old, then you can absolutely start earlier. Let me start with the parents who want to start earlier, and then I will go to the parents who want to start later. If you want to start earlier, your baby is ready for learning language right from the moment that they are born. Babies are ready to start learning language from the moment that they are born, and a baby's brain is able to learn and process language a lot more faster than adults can learn language. So if you are ready to start using signs with your baby from the moment that they are born, when you're in the hospital, go ahead and do it. You do not have to wait for a specific time. You do not have to wait until your baby is 6 months old, because during all of those months, you could have been teaching them signs and you could have gotten into the habit yourself, which is so helpful for keeping you consistent. I have seen a lot of parents who started with their babies from birth or up until like 2 or 4 months old, and these are typically the parents who have seen the most benefit from using sign language with their children for early communication. In fact, the parents who have taken my classes and courses with babies who are newborns or 2 months old or 4 months old have reaped the benefits of signing for the longest time compared to parents who have started a lot later. the first thing that they see is that their baby starts to show comprehension a lot earlier than they would have otherwise. So even though a baby might not be able to sign milk back until they're maybe 9 months old, still, if a baby is able to understand the sign for milk at 4 months old, then once they start crying and a parent says, "Okay, let me get you some milk," baby stops crying immediately because they understand the sign and they know that milk is on the way. So earlier start means less tears, earlier comprehension, oftentimes earlier signing. So if you want to reap the benefits of signing to your baby for the longest time, an earlier start is definitely the way to go. We already talked about why 6 months old and around 6 months old is a good time to start. However, what if it's not the best time for you? For me personally, when my daughter was born, I was already an American Sign Language interpreter. I already knew that I wanted to teach her sign language from the moment that she was born, but postpartum was just really hard. My body took the recovery of giving birth really hard, and I mentally took it really hard too. I really needed to just take some time to just to get by and get into understanding what parenting is and how to take care of a baby around the clock. Of course, although I had my husband's help, my husband doesn't know sign language, so I felt like it was on me to teach my daughter. And I kind of let it fall by the wayside. Even though I did use signs here and there with her, sometimes I would forget to sign for days at a time, and I was really not consistent with it, and that meant that it was just not a good time for me yet because I was so overwhelmed with all of the other things. And that's okay. If you have been overwhelmed with all of the things that are going on as a new parent, or maybe if signing to your baby just never even occurred to you before now and your baby is past 6 months old, past a year old, past 18 months old, you can still do it because whenever you are ready to start signing to your baby, that is when it's the best time to start. If you're ready to start teaching the signs to your little one, then that's when your little one will be the most motivated to learn because they will pick up on your cues. I always say your baby is ready when you are. Again, your baby is ready when you are. If you are ready to teach your baby sign language right now, then the best time to start is right now. And if you're watching this video and you haven't started signing to your baby yet, then it's most likely that the best time is now because watching this video means that you're ready to start. I want you to keep in mind that it is never too late to start teaching your child sign language. Personally, I started signing with my daughter and getting a lot more consistent with it when she was around 10 months old. However, I know parents who have started well past a year old or even around 2 years old and have still gotten so many benefits from being able to use sign language with their child. Signing can be beneficial for your child even from childhood all the way up until adulthood because we're talking about actually teaching your child an additional language or words in an additional language which they can build upon for the future. And who doesn't want to know more languages? I know several adults who have told me, I wish I had learned more languages when I was younger and it was easier, but I know no one who says, I learned way too many languages, I wish I hadn't learned so many. If you think that a boost in communication is needed for your child, then I definitely recommend starting to sign no matter your child's age. And again, there is no window of time that has closed. So even if your child is already talking and you think that it would be fun to learn some sign language together, then do it. Now, that is my advice for hearing parents of hearing children. It's never too early, it's never too late. However, if you are a hearing parent of a deaf or hard of hearing child, I do recommend to start as soon as possible because every single day your child is losing out on the opportunity to learn sign language, which is going to be an excellent foundation for their language learning in the future. And I do have a full video about that if you're a hearing parent of a deaf child, so just tap on the video right here in the cards for that. At this point, you may be thinking, okay, I'm ready to start teaching my child sign language right now. what do I do next? I highly recommend checking out my free PDF, 5 Secrets of Baby Sign Language, which is going to give you 5 starter tips on how to teach your little one signs. And of course, checking out the videos, particularly the ASL Dictionary playlist on this channel, which is going to teach you a whole bunch of signs that you can start out with so that you can help to reduce your child's frustration and start communicating much earlier. Let's recap what we talked about in this video. We talked about how it is never too early to start signing to your baby. It is also never too late to start signing to your baby because babies are ready to start learning language at any time. The earlier you start, the longer you will reap the benefits of signing with your little one, and a good time to start is 6 months old because there are a lot of developmental reasons that your baby is ready to start at that time. However, if you are not ready to start, then the best time to start is whenever you are ready, and your baby will follow your lead. But of course, again, it is never too late to start signing to your little one, and it's always a good time for your little one to start learning a new language. To get started right now, be sure to check out my free PDF, 5 Secrets of Baby Sign Language, which I am also linking in the description box, and check out this playlist right here, which has over 100 starter ASL signs for your family. Happy signing!